Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning, I'm Reverend Joanna. Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church, where our mission is to embrace joy, enrich connections, encourage growth, and empower dreams. We are so glad that you are with us this morning. If this is your first time here, I hope that after the service, you will go to liveoakuu.org and you'll find several links there that might interest you, especially a link where you can subscribe to our weekly email newsletter, and that's going to let you know about everything that is happening at Live Oak. It's tradition in Unitarian Universalist congregations to light a chalice at the beginning of our services. And so if you have a candle or a chalice near, if you could draw it toward you as we all light our chalices together.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Krause. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at Live Oak. I'm glad you joined us today. Our big idea this morning is called The Day the Sky Fell In, written by Juliet Toffa and illustrated by Julia Gallego. There was once a little girl who dreamed of going to the seaside. Every morning she would wake thinking of the sea, and every night she would go to bed sad at the thought of never seeing it. So one day she rode her bike down to the sea with nothing but a knapsack and a rope. But when she arrived, she found the strange path to the beach was long and difficult. It had steep steps up to a cliff top and then a smooth, slippery slope down, just like a slide. The steps were as thin as the blade of a knife and as high as a beanstalk, and she found them very hard to climb. But she took it one step at a time. It was autumn, and crimson leaves lifted in the wind, scattering like a chatter of starlings at sunset. It began to rain. But then the girl made out something else tumbling from the orange clouds. The sky seemed to be falling. Frogs and insects, then cats and dogs showered down and around like hail. But the girl kept on climbing. Other objects fell from the sky too. She tried to catch them. Some might be useful later, she thought as she climbed up higher. First she caught a scarf and gloves, a bobbly hat, and some thick woolly socks, and a cagoule. And then some binoculars, a checked blanket, a flask, and an all-in-one snowsuit. The weary little girl tried to carry all the objects, but it was difficult. So she yanked the rope out of her knapsack and tied the objects to her. It tugged her down, but she kept on climbing. Then came winter. The rickety steps shook in the icy wind. The girl's eyes smarted at first. Her hands turned numb with cold, so she put on the gloves, scarf, and bobbly hat. But as she stumbled higher and higher up the ladder, still more objects fell. Down came a tennis racket, a fishing net, a cricket ball, and a bat. And after that, some sticky sun cream, some smelly insect repellent, a rubber ring, a book, and a torch. Her legs felt so heavy, but she kept on climbing. Then the girl reached the top of the steps, and it was almost spring. Blackbirds began to sing and make nests in the trees. But just as the girl thought it was safe, March winds and April rains came and snatched away her hat, scarf, and gloves. Her fingers slipped on the metal rungs, but she held on tight for as long as she could, and she kept climbing. Some playing cards, deck chairs fished out from the river, a twirling parasol, an inflatable dinghy, a stripy beach towel, a bucket, and a spade, a swimming costume, and a wicker picnic basket all came hurtling towards the girl. Last of all, a beach tent, a windbreak, a folding table and chairs, and even a disposable barbecue. The little girl's body was pulled down by the weight of all the objects tied onto the rope like the tail of a kite. Way up as high as a mountain, she almost lost her footing, but she kept climbing. Then she heard a sound. It was the sweet sound of seagulls. A warm sea breeze gently caressed the girl's face, and as she climbed one more step, she discovered she had reached the top. The little girl sat at the top, in relief and bathed in the sunlight. And then she looked forward towards the sparkling sea. It glistened like thousands and thousands of tiny diamonds and was brighter and more beautiful than anything she had ever seen in her life. Salty sea air tousled her wavy auburn hair, a rippling red prayer flag trailing in the wind. The little girl's hand held on tight as a bud to the rope. She took one last look at the distant winter which lay at the bottom of the steps, and then she tried to slide down to the sea. But she sat still, not moving up or down. For the objects on the rope were too heavy to be pulled to the very top of the steps, and her body was too light to drag them down. It felt like the forces of nature were conspiring against her, and she let out a little cry. But taking a deep breath in, the little girl knew just what she had to do. Maybe I don't need to keep holding on to everything, she thought. Maybe I could try letting go of things that don't matter and just keep the things I love. She put just a few of her favorite things in the knapsack, and closing her eyes, she let go of the rope. Whee! She slid all the way down towards the sea. The rope ricocheted away with all the things she had been carrying, thundering to the bottom of the steps with a giant thud. Slipping down the slide, the little girl felt so much lighter. She wondered why she hadn't let go of everything sooner. The objects had been weighing her down so much, and she didn't really need all those things. As her body pierced the surface of the sea and she plunged into the depths, the water fizzed around her. And then she saw it, cautiously unfurling like a delicate leaf. Her tail, her beautiful, shimmering, scalloped tail where her feet had once been. No wonder she had found it so difficult to climb the ladder, she thought. She was a mermaid, and she belonged in the sea. The little mermaid swirled around in the clear water, strong and supple now. Sunlight bounced off her scales, refracting through the water in new directions. She floated like a dream. The sky had stopped falling, and the summer was here, and it felt good.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. When the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. Though there may be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow. Let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. 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 Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
I drove by an accident the other day. Emergency services people were putting a woman on a stretcher. They were tender, attentive, capable. She was being taken care of. Traffic was directed competently around the wreck. It would be cleaned up, hauled away, taken care of. A fire truck was parked beside the ambulance, its chunky lights flashing. Standing by, just in case a fire happened, so they could take care of it. That was one well taken care of situation.
I wanted to be on that stretcher. I wanted calm and capable people to take care of everything. They looked restful. I was tired. I was the kind of tired you get at the end of a month-long project. I had pushed through to the finish and I'd made 7 mistakes along the way, but the thing was done. I was the kind of tired you get when you have 10 different people feeling in their heart that you should have done it differently, their way. I was the kind of tired when you get when your house is messy, your grass is too long, your car is cluttered, your gas tank is empty, along with your bank account. A tiny piece of me thought it would be restful to lie down on clean sheets, be fussed over in a clean hospital room, have people bring Jell-O and chicken broth and straws that bend.
Usually, I think it's a good day when I don't have to take a ride in an ambulance. And I got back to that state of mind pretty fast. Anyway, I talked to a friend of mine who used to work in an emergency room. And she said that what happens when you come in is that fast-moving people with big scissors cut off all your clothes. That didn't sound restful at all. She suggested I pay for a day at a spa where helpful, calm people would fuss over me all day long. I'd rest, but no one would cut off my clothes with scissors. It would be cheaper than a hospital stay, and I could drive home afterwards.
I now know that when I have a stretcher day, when being helpless looks good to me, I just need to rest. How did I get to be a grown-up and not know that I need to rest sometimes? Resting used to sound weak to me. I used to work sick. Well, I still do that. I used to have 2 speeds, 100 miles an hour and full stop. Crash. I thought I was supposed to go and go and go at full speed until I couldn't go any longer. Then I'd sleep. Then I'd wake up and start again. As I get older, I'm adding more gears. I have slow now, some days.
One of my holy books, the I Ching, talks about the wisdom of not doing. I get tired when I forget and act like I'm the source of my energy, my love, and my creativity. I'm the one who sustains my friends, who gets things done, who works things out. The poet Rilke wrote about a swan and how awkwardly he moves on the ground. His bearing changes once he lowers himself into the water, which flows joyfully beneath him. While the swan, unmoving and marvelously calm, is pleased to be carried, each moment more fully grown, more like a king, further and further on, I'm experimenting with letting go, allowing wave after wave to hold me up, move me along. May I be granted the wisdom to know when to paddle my feet.
So when is this all going to end? When are things going to truly get back to normal? And what is the new normal going to look like? I don't know. I mean, we're obviously in a better position than we were a year ago. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but we're still in the tunnel. And there's still questions that we cannot get the answers to. You know, the clouds are starting to thin out a little bit. We're starting to see the blue sky above, but there's still a few stubborn clouds that are obscuring our view. Questions like, well, but when will the children be able to get vaccines? And what will the new variants mean in all of this? And when are we going to get our area numbers of infection down? We just don't know. I'll tell you that in terms of the church, I am still operating under the hope and making preparation for us to be together again in time for our water communion service at the start of September. But there's just too many questions between now and that time to really be able to have any certainty about when this will all end. This spring is a strange one. You know, we've crossed the threshold of that year anniversary. I don't know about you, but for me, that song from Rent about 525,000, it's just been going through my mind because of the number of people that we have lost during this year. And even apart from the pandemic, we look around in the area that we're living in, and this is not what spring usually looks like. After getting that, we hope, once in a generation winter storm, everything is brown. Live oak trees are called live oaks because unlike other trees, they actually keep their green leaves all year round. But not this year. My yard is covered in little brown leaves and the branches are bare. And all around Our grass is brown. Many of our plants have collapsed. And again, more unanswered questions about, should we dig everything up and just start all over? Are these trees actually dead? Do we need to take them down? The horticulturists in our areas are saying, no, 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 no. Be patient, they are saying. Let it be. That there's, yes, there could be some damage that you can see, and maybe you should take care of that. But for the most part, we have to just be patient and wait for the life that is around us, the life that we pass on our walks, to reveal itself and to find out whether it managed to survive the storm. I think it makes a pretty good metaphor for us. I know that on a recent walk, when I passed by this just collapsed agave, I wanted to go over it and pat it and say, me too, agave, me too. Has anyone else felt like this collapsed agave? I'm exhausted, and I imagine that many of you are too. So what do we do? What do we do to prepare for life being able to resume normal? How do we find out what it is? How have we changed? And what do we need to do moving forward? Well, we are living things too, just like the plants, even if after this past year we may have to occasionally take our pulse just to verify that. But maybe what we can do is take some of that same advice that the gardeners are giving. They're saying to cut away the mushy parts. For the most part, just be patient and let it be. And also keep our eyes open to the things that are managing to bloom despite the winter storm, or maybe even enhanced by it. I don't think I've ever seen the word mushy used as much as I have this past month. That seems to be the word that the master gardeners are going to when they're giving you advice about your plants and what you should cut away and what you should just leave there. It seems like the one thing where it's really clear is the mushy parts. If there's mushy parts on your plant, there's a good likelihood that those parts will rot and they'll keep any new growth from coming up. So, okay, what are your mushy parts? What are the parts of you or the habits that have arisen over this past year? And maybe they were good this past year, but they're going to keep you from growing and living a more fulfilled life. It's going to be different from person to person, figuring out what those are and doing the hard work of figuring out what do I need as opposed to what is easy or what do I want. I'm emotionally and mentally and spiritually exhausted, as I think just about everyone is. And so what I want to do is what I have been doing quite a bit of, curling up in a comfortable chair with a book. And I will continue to do some of that, but I also know, I know the medicine that I need. I know the medicine that has always worked for me is to take long walks and hikes. It's better for my body, and it is so necessary for my brain. Not just my brain, but my soul. In fact, I have called it before taking my soul for a walk. And every time I make the time to do it, 100% of the time, it is good for me. I get new ideas, and I can right now feel myself healing. For you, it may be completely the opposite. Maybe you during this time have set up a gym, and so you have your daily routine of really pushing yourself and getting exercise. But what you need right now is to curl up with a book, to do something that is going to stimulate your imagination, to remember something that you love, whether it is science journals or fairy tales. The big question is, again, what's mushy in your life? What are the things that, if you continue doing them, they're not going to help you move forward and have more of the life that you want? Instead, they're going to hold you back and sit there and just kind of rot. The gardeners say, though, it's hard to do, but they say once you've cut away those parts that clearly are dead, to stop. That you'll be tempted to continue cutting away more, or maybe even to dig the whole thing up, trying to find out, is there still life in this plant? And it doesn't work that way. The only thing that works is time, and just to step back and allow some time to pass. Those Aggie horticulturists have even used the phrase about, we need to learn how to like ugly. For those of you who take great pride in your yard and your garden, and my mom is one, like, I know how hard this is. My mom was in the middle of the night waking up stressing out about her yard, and I know that there's some of you others have been doing that too, but the experts say, let it be. Let it lie fallow for a little bit. This is going to allow plants to gather their energy so that they can begin blooming again. And this applies to us too. We're going to need a period of recovery. It's probably going to be longer than we want it to be. This has affected us in so many ways, and not just the pandemic. The last 5 years have affected us. Right now, as we wait for some of our questions about what we can and can't do, as we wait for those to be answered, we need to just let it be and learn to like the ugly, or if not the ugly, learn to like the discomfort of maybe not having a plan immediately and just sitting, just resting. Experts in psychology, they will all tell us that the worst time to make a major life change is during or right after a crisis. We think that we are thinking clearly, many of us. We feel very sharp and sort of focused on what is important. But for many of us, if we haven't yet fully come out of the crisis, or if we haven't fully grieved, or if we haven't fully processed it, our brains have not quite caught up yet. And they may go off in other areas where maybe, a year from now, if we make a rash decision, we might go, oh, I clearly was not thinking clearly. And I say this because I experienced it myself. After my baby daughter had cancer, after she was already on her way to recovery, I was not. But I don't think I really knew that. Instead, it seemed very clear to me I was never going to go back to seminary and become a minister. That was just ridiculous. Instead, what I was going to do, I was going to open a cafe. I knew exactly the best location. I knew where it was going to be. I knew what I was going to name it. I knew the decor, kind of like Luke's Diner, for those of you who have watched Gilmore Girls. I knew all of I even knew a few of the dishes that I was going to have on the menu. You know what I did not know? Anything at all about running a restaurant or a cafe. That didn't stop me. I went on with my dreaming and my planning. I ordered a couple of books about how to start a restaurant. Lucky for me, I did not have the opportunity to just throw some money at something and make a decision that I absolutely know I would have come to regret. The most that I was out was the money for a couple of books. It may feel to you like this past year has given you some clarity that now you know about this big change you need to make in your life. And you may be right. You absolutely may be right. A big crisis can also cause us to reevaluate our lives and decide to go into a new and better direction. I would just encourage you, number one, if you have any good friends that you can run this by, not the friends who think that everything you do is wonderful, but you know, those kind of pesky, mature, thoughtful types that will ask you some hard questions, run it by them. And if time is not a factor, maybe give it a couple of months. Just sit where you are, do some dreaming, do some preparation on paper, but maybe hold back on any major life decisions. And while we are doing this, while we are cutting away the mushy parts and learning to sit even somewhat uncomfortably with what is right now, don't forget to look up and notice what has inexplicably come into bloom as if it didn't even know that the winter storm happened. I've been watching the redbud trees in my neighborhood, and right on time, again, like there was no ice or snow or any of that. They are coming into bloom and they are looking beautiful. And in areas where there's a lot of grass, yes, I can still see the brown, but I'm starting to see the green beginning to shoot up. What are the things in your life from the past year that have bloomed in spite of the pandemic or because of the pandemic? Our lives changed radically, and I know that I have heard many people say, I don't entirely want to go back to the way that it used to be, because that wasn't always so great either. And this time has given me some positives. It has given me more time with my family, more time and inclination to cook or to bake, more time to create art and create music. Maybe you were one of those ones who started doing sourdough this past year. And if you are still getting value out of that, I hope you continue it. Maybe you have new habits that actually do make your life better. They do feed your soul. For me, it's the bird feeder that I now have outside my front window, and being able to see all the birds that come to it. I guess I'm in a new relationship with a squirrel. I eat my apples and then I will put the core out for the squirrel. He comes and gets it and I never see it again. And maybe along with those habits, there have been some new things that you have realized about yourself. Things that before you would say, oh, I'll do that someday. And now the yearning to be able to do them as soon as possible is just burning in your soul. After this winter storm, I know that many of us were reawakened to our desire to serve others, to find those who need the most help and help out in some way, whether it is feeding the hungry or working for justice, maybe running for office, or maybe there's something that for the past year you have been thinking about the church and thinking, oh, when we are together again, I would really like to do Whatever it is, come and talk to me about it. I will tell you that service is one of those things that I don't believe you will ever regret. It will make your life better. We are in yet another in-between times, yet another doorway, another liminal space where we know that it won't be this way forever and that things are going to change. And this time it really looks like they're going to change for the better. But right now, perhaps the most important thing we can do is just let it be. Wait for the answers to the questions to come to us in their own time. Have faith that words of wisdom will arrive. Let it be. Thank you so much for attending Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church this morning. So glad that you were with us. I want to give a special thank you to everyone who helped make this service possible. Our readers and our musicians and our producers and everyone who was typing into chat or was simply here bringing your presence to this moment. We are grateful for you. Sunday isn't over yet. If this was your first time, go to liveoakuu.org and you're going to see a link there that says just for visitors. If you click that, it's going to take you to a Zoom room. There's just going to be a couple of our members who are there, and it operates kind of like an online visitors table where you can ask them any questions and introduce yourself. And whether you are a longtime member or a visitor or somewhere in between, we invite you to come to our fellowship time. Again, you will find that link at liveoakuu.org. We gather together and where we can see all of our faces on Zoom, and then we break into randomly assigned little small groups where we can discuss a question of the day or just catch up on each other's lives. It is so good to connect with each other, to come together every Sunday. This has been a really hard year, but knowing that we had this every week as a way to come together as a community, as we did even in the before times, it's what has made, for so many of us, including me, it's made this more bearable. Go in peace and go with love. And this week, experiment with just letting it be.
Soon the day will arise when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there.